With the Bucks making two huge moves, including acquiring Damian Lillard and hiring Doc Rivers, they've genuinely ruined their chances at winning the championship this year, and here is why.
That is ridiculously bad. It really is.
For the past few seasons, everyone's wanted to see Damian Lillard out of Portland, so when September 2023 came around, we thought South Beach was his destination, but everybody was shocked to find out that he was actually headed to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to team up with the Greek Freak. People immediately called them championship contenders, and another super team forming right before our eyes. But what people didn't take into account here is that they gave up Jrue Holiday. Jrue was arguably Milwaukee's biggest asset on the defensive end of the floor, and yeah, maybe they still have Giannis, who is a defensive player of the year, and yeah, they still have great rim protection in Brook Lopez, but Jrue was a hard-nosed on-ball defender. Having a guard to set the tone on defense for the rest of the game is super valuable, and Milwaukee lost that. Although Damian hadn't hurt the Bucks at all, I think we thought that he and Giannis would, maybe be a better fit alongside together than they actually are. Currently, the Bucks are the second seed in the East, and they just fired their head coach, Adrian Griffin. That doesn't make any sense. Is it because the Bucks were the 8th worst defense in the league? They're currently giving up 119 points in a game, mind you. See how bad losing Jrue Holiday hurts you? But on the other hand, their offense is second in the league just behind the Pacers, so they need to start valuing defense more than offense, especially when it comes to playoff time. With firing a head coach who only coached 43 games for Milwaukee, they went out and hired Doc Rivers, who currently didn't have a job but had coached the 76ers last season. Doc definitely has a long-listed and very glorious resume, but to be honest, I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in league history. He did coach the Celtics in the 2000s, where he ended up winning a championship in 2008. Then he ended up moving out to LA, where he coached the Lob City Clippers, and eventually got a great team in Los Angeles with all-time greats like Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, but they never made it past the second round. If I had to judge, this is just pathetic for Doc Rivers. The team was for sure title contenders for a couple of seasons, and Doc couldn't get them out of the second round. After the Lob City era, Doc snuck around for a few more, let's say unrememberable seasons. Then he moved on to the 76ers. Obviously, we all know that they had their franchise cornerstone, Joel Embiid, who was there every season, and Doc disappointed the city of Philadelphia because for 3 straight playoff appearances, they ended up losing in the second round of the playoffs. So what's up with Doc Rivers and getting stuck in that second round? All in all, Doc Rivers may be a better coach than Adrian Griffin, but does that make it right to fire him during the middle of the season when you've got that second seed? Maybe, but also maybe they expected more dominance out of Dame and Giannis, but the Milwaukee Bucks defense is borderline horrendous. This season, the Bucks are allowing the 8th most points in the paint, and they're even allowing 53.6 points a game. So far, in the 8 games that Doc has coached, the Bucks are 3-5 with losses to the Nuggets, Trailblazers, Suns, Jazz, and Timberwolves. With wins against the Mavericks, Hornets, and a 17-point win against the Nuggets, Damian Lillard did not play against the Phoenix Suns and the Timberwolves. Damian didn't even play in 2 games, and Chris Middleton had a minor ankle injury and should be back very soon. But the game that the Bucks did take home a W in, which was against Dallas, they only allowed 40 points in the paint, so that's probably why they won. So the real question becomes, is this coaching hire the more correct move at the correct time? It seems like it is, but we're gonna have to see what Doc Rivers can do with this loaded roster. During February 8th, which was the day of the trade deadline, the Milwaukee Bucks made 2 moves to their roster. Looking for some defensive help, they went out and traded for the defensive pest himself, Patrick Beverley. The Bucks traded away Cameron Payne and a 2027 second-round pick so as to acquire the 35-year-old vet. This is by far the best move that they've made all season long. That's just my personal opinion, though. You get a leader, a defensive maniac, and somebody who goes 1,000% no matter what, just like they had in Jrue Holiday, but for a very small, teeny-weeny, itsy-bitsy price. Maybe Pat Bev can lead the Bucks to the promised land? Maybe? That's not all they did on the day of the trade deadline, though, because they did trade away Brook Lopez's brother Robin to the Sacramento Kings for cashola considerations. This is very small, but hey, it's worth noting. Another reason why the Bucks definitely won't be winning the championship this year is simply because their role players are continuously getting older and slowly getting worse. Although Brook Lopez is averaging the second most blocks in the league this season, he has a worse defensive net rating than last season. Last year alone, he was clocking in at 106.6. That's pretty good. But this season, that number has skyrocketed to 112.9. Which begs the question, is this the reason why they let up so many points in the paint? Maybe. Also, you gotta consider their backup power forward or center, Bobby Portis, gets 24 minutes a game and has a 119 defensive rating with only averaging 0.4 blocks a game. That is not very good for old Bobby P. He does still bring some fierce competitiveness and an offensive spark here and there. Their former All-Star Chris Middleton hadn't really been himself for the past 2 seasons, and Chris, well, let's face it, he's old, like 32 years old, and has averaged only 15 points a game the last 2 seasons, compared to a 5-year stretch of averaging 20 points a game. Although his field goal and 3-point percentage are better than the past few seasons, he is still shooting a career low from the free throw line, which is still a very good 84%, surprisingly. He just hasn't been the Chris Middleton we know and love. He's only been taking around 12 shots a game, and it hasn't been that low in his career since his 3rd season in the NBA. Just because Dame time is in town doesn't mean that Chris can just settle for being an okay 3rd scoring option. If he is aggressive like Giannis and Dame, nobody in the league would be able to guard all 3 every single night. Not to mention Jay Crowder, a beloved role player for any team, has been flat out pitiful this season. His defensive rating has hit a career low, which is at 119. And while it hasn't been over 113 since the 2017 season, that is ridiculous. Jay's also shooting a career low 61% from the free throw line. Like, did Jay Crowder forget how to play basketball or something, or what's going on? But some role players for the Bucks, like Malik Beasley, Pat Connaughton, and Marjon Beauchamp, have all been okay for Milwaukee. Malik is shooting an incredible 45% from downtown this season. Connaughton and Beauchamp had been reliable pieces each time whenever they step on the court. I wonder what's going to happen with this Milwaukee Bucks team. I mean, will they actually be able to make a good run in the playoffs, or will they be early exits like last year? Oh, you forgot about last year? Wow, time flies. But anyway, Milwaukee was the #1 seed in watching the play-in tournament. They wanted to play anyone but the Miami Heat, but lo and behold, they played them and lost in their first round to an 8 seed. So, will Giannis and the core group bounce back from last year's pathetic outing, or will the loss of Jrue Holiday and the acquisition of Damian Lillard, Jay Crowder, Patrick Beverley, and even Doc Rivers be the downfall of the stacked Milwaukee Bucks team? Let us know in the comment section below, and until next time, guys, we'll see you later.